Hey everyone, and welcome to Age of Reason. Today is Saturday, February 11th, 2017. Happy New Year, belated. Very belated indeed.
Very belated.
But, we took a 2 months break, and I thought I would do many things, but I didn't actually do much. It's always like that, procrastination. I was actually thinking about writing a book this year. That's why I took time off to think about it. I actually want to convert a story, a feature film script I wrote to book format. There will be a crowdfunding organized for that. If you can help me, please do. It will help me a lot. So with me today is a newcomer,
Hello.
Luke. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, my name's Luke. I'm atheist, obviously. I am coming on the show, I guess, today just to speak my mind a little bit about the things that are going on at the moment with the religion and the world and the new Trump era, the new era of radical Christian
fake news,
radical Islam, and the impending war between the two, I imagine. And the relationship between politics and religion at the moment, I think, is a really important thing to talk about and speak out against.
I think so too, yeah. What made you particularly interested to be on this kind of show, or maybe you want to have your own show sometime?
Yeah, I've thought about it in the past, and I think I will try to start my own debate podcast with a Christian friend of mine, but just watching the news day in, day out, and sitting by and not doing something is incredibly frustrating when, for a variety of things, for obviously Trump's election, but you see like these ISIS videos that come out, and even like with Christian terrorism.
Right.
I think that you can't solve all the world's problems, but religion is one of these problems that we can solve, and we have the solution for, and it's so frustrating.
Almost everybody, at least in America, right? People have access to the internet, so they have access to all this information online. Yet they gravitate towards only the Christian websites.
Yeah.
And they just keep reinforcing their bias pretty much.
I don't know how old you are, but I grew up with the internet. I grew up with the beginning of the internet.
Me too, yeah.
So when the internet first came about, I thought, well, this is a really great opportunity, like almost like an awakening opportunity for the human race.
Yeah.
And instead, it's the complete opposite.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Like you can start with the conclusion, and then you can find all the information to support you.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what conclusion you have.
Right. Yeah, and in fact, when I first talked to you the very first time, you said something quite interesting. You said, so religious people can say anything and just get away with it, but we atheists are under extreme scrutiny. Like, if we do something even half wrong, it's a big crime, and we have to apologize. And
essentially, the assertion is that we have to have a PhD in science, biology, in astrophysics, in psychology, or geology, just to sort of say that mythological creatures aren't real,
right,
and ancient mythological texts aren't literally true,
right.
And I refute that. I don't have a PhD in anything, but I have common sense.
Yeah, that's all we need. But actually, a lot of people don't have common sense. That's the problem. Problem. All right, so today we're going to talk about a few things. First, I just want to bring up a conversation I had with an atheist page in Japan, actually, about Islam. And I just thought they were really off the mark, so I want to show how. Then we're going to briefly talk about Trump and about his platform mainly. And of course, then we're going to actually jump into the regular part of the show. We're going to talk about the Bible, and we're going to finish off with a pretty crazy video, so stay tuned for that. All right, so very recently I had a little spat with an atheist page in Japan. I think it's called Atheists in Japan, actually. And the page is run by Japanese people, so admins are all Japanese. And they posted an article. First thing I should mention is this article was shared from Breitbart. Okay, so Breitbart is the home of fake news.
Yeah. It's
So already there from the beginning, it's off to a bad start. The article they shared was the fact that Syrian refugees, mostly mostly went into Europe and, for example, I think none of them went into Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was just zero.
Yeah.
Some of them went into Lebanon and Jordan, Turkey, of course. And so already the premise is not really right, because some of those countries took refugees. So, okay, so that was already off. And so what I said is, first of all, I can't believe you linked to Breitbart. I mean,
first point.
And you know, they defended it and they said, well, we still defend the article. I'm like, okay, all religions are bad. And I noticed your page specifically picks on Islam. I mean, I think 60 to 70% of everything they post is anti-Islam. And it's also very strange because this is, okay, just for people who don't understand, Japanese people really don't care about religion. This never comes up.
That's right.
So it's very strange that a few Japanese people here created an atheist page in Japan. It's like, why? For who?
Yeah, atheism doesn't come up much, I don't think. I don't know any strong atheists in Japan. They just don't talk about religion
They
so
don't
much.
talk about religion. The page has 900 followers, so obviously it's not big. ISIS was created by Muslims. Okay, so this is where I had a little problem. First of all, they ignored that Christianity was what? Christianity was all peaceful, and it's all rosy, and no murders, nothing at all, right? Nothing happened. Just no burning people at the stake, and no chasing the witches. That never happened, right? Also, the way that ISIS was formed is not quite correct. I think you would also agree that ISIS was really formed because the US went there in the first place.
Yeah, a lot of these terrorist organizations are political movements first that use religion as a tool.
As a tool, yeah. It's the same as Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. Was really created by the CIA. The CIA printed kind of special editions of the Quran, which were used to radicalize people so they can fight the Soviet Union, because at the time communism was this huge enemy, right, for the Americans. These days you can argue that, okay, compared to, let's say, other religions, it's true that there is more terrorism there.
Yes, at the moment. But why that is a complicated reason.
A very complicated reason. And also, most victims of Muslim terrorism are Muslims themselves, okay? So these are all facts. And I made sure to point out to the page that what they're talking about is radical Islam. When they write, oh, just Islam is bad, so you just took a broad brush and you painted everybody with it. No, you have to talk about radical Islam. Then it's fine. You have to realize that only a portion of Muslims commit crimes. Islam in the world is a religion of 1.5 billion followers. Even if 10% of that were terrorists, it's like 150,000. I think
the world would be over, I think.
I think so, yeah. So you're talking about a real fringe of people. Even though we know that, okay, in some cases, you know, if you ask people in the UK, what do you think about Sharia law? It's true that there is a pretty high percentage of people that say, oh yeah, sure, we should have that. And that's scary.
Yeah, and Sharia, there's shades of Sharia law as well. Some aspects of Sharia law are just like basic council type meetings where they adjudicate small things. Like it's not all cutting off heads and hands and stuff.
Yeah.
Sam Harris talks a lot about this issue as well.
Yes.
He wants to be fiercely critical of Islam and Islamic terrorism, but doesn't want to help Islamophobia.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a really complicated problem. Like, how do we push back on Islam without promoting white nationalism and xenophobia?
Right.
I don't know the answer.
I actually saw a conversation of Bill Maher and Sam Harris recently in real time.
Yeah.
And Sam Harris at the very end of that conversation, he says, okay, well, to talk about, we have to reform Islam, and Muslims themselves have to reform Islam. I agree. But there's another point that they missed out, and that is we need to stop bombing those people.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is such a complicated subject to talk about. It's because we see time and time again through history politicians using religion as a tool of mass mobilization. It happened in the Crusades. A lot of the Crusades, the reasons why they happened were for purely political reasons, either internal politics or land grabs.
Yep.
And you're seeing the exact same thing happen in the Middle East. After World War II, the Middle East was forgotten about.
Yep.
We have the United Nations and we have the EU.
Right.
But all of these decisions were made without the Middle East. And so now religion again is being utilized for political ends to bring about the end of Western liberal rule.
Yeah. And in fact, you're exactly correct. All of that really started after World War II. America started dealing with Saudi Arabia and all of that. And by the way, I think people really have to be a little bit more honest. And I think if you really look deep down, people really don't give a shit about the wars. I mean, think about it. You go to work every day, right? So 5 days a week, you're at work. You come home, you're tired. You're not going to do any research. You might listen to some kind of talking head, very kind of bullet point format, but you're not going to catch the whole story. The weekend, okay, if you have kids especially, you're not going to do research at home. You're going to be busy going out, shopping, or whatever. So really, I think a lot of people just don't have the proper information and time.
And it's hard to get good information these days too. That's another issue.
I think for every good link, you probably get at least 10 bad ones.
I mean, we live in an outrage society, but we also live in a commercial society. So a lot of media is driven by outrage and by money. So there's a lot of incentive to promote fake news and clickbait titles and living in your bubble of reality, which liberals do as well, and religious people definitely do.
Yeah, talking about the liberal bubble, that's a perfect segue to my next little section. We're going to talk a little bit about Trump, but before we do, actually, I would just want to say I'm really irritated right now by the Democratic Party in the States, because they talk about, okay, we're going to be the opposition, and yet they fold on every single issue. They surrender. And people even who, well, okay, I looked up to, like Elizabeth Warren. She's like, okay, so this Trump cabinet nominee is horrible. It's a horrible person. I know he's a horrible person, but I will tell him that after I vote for him.
She voted for Ben Carson. Ben Carson, who thinks that, like, the Parthenon is full of Cheetos or whatever.
Well, he's a young Earth creationist.
He's a young Earth creationist with some very wacky ideas and no experience in government.
At all. No, at all. And I think this is a point I made on my page recently. He was a neurosurgeon, of course, a brain surgeon. You can be smart in one field, but you can be absolutely stupid in everything else. So that's what Bill Maher actually called a smart, stupid person.
So there are often when you're debating young Earth creationists, they'll give you examples of scientists that believe in a young Earth or don't believe in evolution, and it's like
fake experts.
They're fake experts. Like the general consensus within the scientific community is that global warming is real, evolution is real, the Earth is billions of years old or whatever.
Yeah.
You can pick one scientist. He may be smart, he may be a he may have a PhD or whatever, but he's still wrong.
Yeah.
He's still completely wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of those fake experts are actually bought out by some interests.
Especially in regards to climate change.
Right. So oil, right? Big oil just buys them out. So Elizabeth Warren disappointed me. Cory Booker, who was the other guy who was supposed to be running, who might run in 2020, he completely caved in on the healthcare bill. So Bernie Sanders was talking about a bill that would reduce the cost of medicine in the U.S. Okay, that's a win-win for the people. Cory Booker is a Democrat. He's like, no, we're not going to do that. So why did he do that? It's because he's paid by Big Pharma. So right now I think they're choosing the new chair of the DNC. and so they had to go to a kind of talk show, let's say. And so everybody, each candidate had to talk about themselves. What are they going to do differently to move the party forward? And so there was one question in that debate. Okay, we know that the primaries were kind of rigged, and so what can you do going forward? And they all went like, you guys need to stop denying reality.
We've read your emails, so.
Yeah. I just want to talk about Trump a little bit, about his platform mainly, and then feel free to jump in with any comments you have. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but just some. The obvious one is the US-Mexico wall. Okay, the wall is such a medieval concept. We have airplanes these days, we have boats. You can build a tunnel under it. It's not going to prevent much or anything at all.
The projected costs now are more than the yearly budget for NASA. Or
something like that, yeah.
It's like an insane amount, maybe even twice as much as what they spend on NASA. Like you could go to
something like that. Yeah.
You could go to Mars for that kind of money.
Yeah.
Instead, you're building a wall in a desert. Like
in a desert.
This wall will be abandoned, and anyone could just climb it.
Yep.
Because it's impossible to man. It's impossible to secure.
I think so too, yeah. He withdrew from the TPP. That's good. I agree with him. That should have been done a long time ago. I couldn't believe Obama was pushing for it. Like, seriously.
And I couldn't believe that Hillary Clinton, she made noises about withdrawing from that as well. So I don't know if I could believe her or not. No. But it's interesting that was the people, I think, brought about that change.
Yeah, I think so too.
But it's a very un-Republican thing to do, because they're all about free trade. They used to be.
Green light from for the pipelines. Okay, this is terrible. This is what I said, I think, a couple of years ago on another show. The price of fuel, which is so low, price of oil, I should say, which is so low right now. This is terrible for the planet. People keep buying. People are addicted to the low price of oil.
People have been defending this decision because they want to have America be oil independent, independent from the Middle East.
Right.
But I think that there's going to be a sea change in energy in the next couple of decades. And
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if you invest all that money right now to build those huge pipelines and everything, in 10 years, perhaps the price of solar is going to be cheaper than oil.
Yep.
But you spent that money, so it just doesn't make any sense. Defeat ISIS. Yeah, I like that.
Why didn't anybody think of that before?
Yeah, and how are you going to do that? It needs a plan. You're not going to defeat it with bombs, that's for sure.
He said he had a plan before the election, but then he signed an executive order to his generals to come up with a plan.
Right. Of course. Reversed environmental restrictions. Of course, this is horrible. He's very much anti-EPA, we know that. Withdraw from Paris Climate Agreement. Okay. Create a Muslim registry. That one is very scary.
Yeah. Some people have made noises that it happened before under Bush after 9/11. I wasn't aware of that, but apparently there's some precedent. And there's some precedent for a lot of the things that he wants to do, like the Muslim ban and things like that, is based on some of the things that Obama had done. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's kind of scary that we would go back to that time again.
Yeah, I think Hitler probably did it with the Jews.
Yeah. He's doing a lot of things that Hitler did.
Rebuild America's infrastructure. Well, okay, that's a good one. I'm still waiting. Well, we're obviously going to wait a long time for that. Bring jobs back from overseas. Okay, again, I'd like to see him try in this global economy.
Yeah. I mean, even with all this new technology, like self-driving cars, for example, or even like the increases in AI. Even white-collar jobs are going to start disappearing.
Yeah, I think so.
Let alone blue-collar jobs.
Yeah, this is what I said, I think, on our last show, talking about Japan. The Prime Minister always comes on TV and he says, come on, people, you need to make more babies. We need more population here.
Yeah.
No, you don't, because in 10 or 20 years, the machines are going to take most of the jobs up. You don't need more people, you need more machines.
Even things like vocational training or like apprenticeships are being pushed or promoted, and I think that obviously it's a great idea, but a lot of people studying today are studying for jobs that are going to be gone in like a year or so, or like 10 years.
Yep.
I think just from a religious perspective, like his new policies are gearing up towards a Christian ethnocentric nationalism. Like, calling Trump a fascist, everyone calls Trump a fascist, but fascism tends to adopt the popular religion of the time into their politics, and we're starting to see that with Trump, with like a Muslim ban, but like an exception for Christians, or like with this Betty DeVos person, where she wants to promote homeschooling and charter schools, which will mean and to deregulate it so it won't come up to a federal standard. So you will have people being able to teach their children straight from the Bible, and that will be an acceptable education in America. And they'll also want to pass laws to extend religious privilege. So you'll be able to, say, for example, fire people who are gay or lesbian from your company, and you can do so based on religious grounds.
Yeah,
it's going to be a scary time, and atheism, I think, is going to become a really important tool to be an advocate for atheism.
Yeah,
is becoming increasingly more important in the future, I think.
Yeah. Now is time to be an activist. Now is not the time to sit home on your couch watching Dancing with the Stars or some bullshit like that. Now is the time to go out and, protest if there is something to protest. Get into politics. Go into office. You're not going to change the world by posting some stupid shit on Facebook, okay? Some people might read it, and so what? You have to make laws, you have to go into politics. This is how it works. Nobody created anything different yet. So I would do it if I was in the States. I'm not, unfortunately, but you have to be involved. And okay, you came here today, but sometimes I get people who reply to my ads on Craigslist or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, are you paying us for that?" No, activism is not about money. You want to make money? Join a church.
Absolutely. There's a ton of money to be made, apparently, but I'm really sort of heartened by a lot of the protests that I've been seeing in America. Like I really, maybe I'm a bit cynical, but I didn't think the Americans had it in them. But
they lost it. Yeah.
To see like such massive protests immediately, I mean, it's hard to believe that we're only 3 weeks into Trump's administration, and I feel like the American population has some fight in them at least, and it's not over.
Well, we talked about that also when we talked about President Reagan, and I made the point that Reagan actually hated when people protested. He fired all the air traffic controllers because they went on strike, kind of.
Right.
So he just like, okay, if you don't show up to work in 48 hours, I'll fire all of you. And he did. So people got scared to go out in the street because they thought, well, the same might happen to me. I don't want to lose my job.
Yeah.
So I think in America, a lot of people live under regular fear because it's not the people running the country. It's really corporations running the country. So
yeah. There was a talk of a general strike in America to protest Trump, and that might be one of those situations where it's if you strike, then you'll be fired. The acting attorney general got fired because she stood up to the Muslim ban?
Yeah.
I mean, he's trying to make an example out of her.
Right. Let's go into the Bible. So the first passage here actually is not really a passage, but it's about the Passover, and it's about the celebration of the Passover. And we already did that because I'm pretty sure that was in Exodus. But we're going to talk about the celebration of that. And what is the Passover? It's a celebration of murder. It's when God killed all the firstborns in Egypt. Well, that never happened, of course. Otherwise, somebody would have recorded that. But okay, let's say it happened. So this is when God went on a maniacal rampage and killed a bunch of people. So the Jews have to celebrate that. What actually happens when people celebrate the Passover? Well, they get around the table and there's a bunch of food, very specific food, by the way, which is dictated, I suspect, by the Bible at some point. So it's some kind of special vegetable, and there is some, you have to break the bread in a certain way and put it in an organized pile. And then there is the story where the adults, I suppose, retell the story of Exodus, how the people went out of Egypt, which never happened. So this is a form of brainwashing, because obviously you're reinforcing it every year, I suppose. Every year you have to tell your children about this story, which never happened. Like in the Quran, it says, don't eat, what is it? They can't eat pork.
They can't eat
right?
pork. They can't eat carrion blood. There's a bunch of strange laws. There is a prohibition against drinking alcohol, but that's in the hadiths, I think. Like in the Quran, it says specifically, don't come to the mosque drunk. And you're supposed to pray 5 times a day. So it doesn't specifically ban alcohol, and it reveres Jesus as a prophet who famously turned water into wine. So it's very confusing that their position on alcohol.
Why would you take your, I don't know, your life experience from a book written by people who didn't know where the sun went at night, who didn't understand the theory of germs, or why women have periods? They didn't understand any of that. Why would you obey rules from I just don't understand.
The secular community has a lot of rules regarding food, like you might have, say for example, vegetarians, or people who don't want to eat genetically modified foods, or that they don't want to eat carbs or gluten. But there's a logic behind all of that. When you read, especially in the Torah, like the rules for food, about like not eating shellfish and things like that, it has it just seems like arbitrary rules, like absurd rules, and
just made up.
I'd be curious to see where they originated from. There might be some ancient culture or some ancient reason. Maybe some guy got food poisoning from seafood once, and then it was like, right, that's it. No more shellfish. But it's bizarre.
Yeah.
A lot of these stories, especially when you see an odd thing like that, it probably has an earlier origin story. Whoever curses his God shall bear his sin. Whoever blasphemes the name of the Lord shall surely be put to death. All congregation shall stone him. Whoever curses his God. So that's a very minor crime or light crime, and very ambiguous. How do you interpret that? Curses his God. It seems like there could be a broad interpretation.
Yeah, I guess you can't say God damn it.
God damn it.
Rape is okay, but don't say the guy's name with shitty attitude. Oh, it was Louis C.K.
Louis C.K.
That's who said that. I remember.
Yeah, and this is a particular law or clause that can be broadly applied, and this is like a society based on death and the rule of death, and
pretty much.
That's the rules like this is where religious societies can really go off the rails, and that's where you see like mass murder and mass genocide.
The next one is kind of a curious one. It's an eye for an eye. So whoever takes a human life shall surely be put to death. Okay, so that kind of goes into the death penalty with that. Some countries have.
I heard an interesting interpretation of the Ten Commandments. I think Zizek tackled them, basically facing them off against the Convention of Human Rights. So like this one in particular, where you take a life if you kill someone, is contravened by this idea that you can kill someone in self-defense. We say that that's okay, but in this writing, it sort of seems like even if I kill someone in self-defense, I need to then be killed. This is like, what do you call that? A blood.
Blood for blood.
Blood for blood. There's a word for that in blood vengeance or something like that, where you get these cycles of violence and tribes killing tribes, and the circle of violence never ends. And we're seeing that today in Israel at the moment. Yeah.
The death penalty, I don't know. I mean, I don't think you can be like pro or against it entirely. If it's a horrible kind of killer, murderer, rapist, okay, let's say he doesn't get the death penalty. So he gets prison for life, right? So all his life he's gonna rot in some cell. It sucks, okay. But you know, he's gonna be fed. His clothes are gonna be washed, and he gets a bed. It sucks, it sucks because you're stuck in this cell all your life.
Say you kill someone and then you get killed, like maybe if you spend like 6 years on death row or something, like if you spend the next 40 years of your life in prison, I don't know, you have to, it depends. If you're a psychopath, you will just breeze by, I imagine. But if you're a real person, I couldn't imagine living with my conscience.
Yeah.
Living in a cell every day, wasting my whole life, especially if I was young when I committed the murder.
Right.
To turn into an old man and to look back on your life, I think that is a very subtle kind of punishment.
Yeah. If anyone injures his neighbor as he has done, it shall be done to him. Fracture to fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Whatever injury he has given a person shall be given to him. I am very happy that we do not follow that.
Yeah.
Imagine any sport where by accident you broke someone's leg, and then they go, well, sorry, my man, but I have to do the same to you now.
It seems insane.
Yeah.
Like an insane. And like, what if I steal someone's money, then they take my money,
I
the
guess.
same amount of money from me?
So, yeah.
Or if I scratch their car, they get to scratch my car. Like, where does this sort of logic end? You see Christian law creeping into the courts in America. It's kind of terrifying that we would go back to this medieval way of behaving. Of course, in America, they're terrified of Sharia law, but they're fine with having the Ten Commandments in a court of law or deeply Christian Supreme Court nominees.
Well, they want their nonsense,
exactly.
not others' nonsense.
I've had that exact same thing said to me, where my Christian friend, he posted a link about ISIS indoctrinating children, and I'm like, you indoctrinate children, and the response was, well, we indoctrinate them in the truth.
Right, yeah.
As for your male and female slaves, who you may have, you may buy male and female slaves from among the nations that are around you. You may also buy from the strangers who sojourn with you and their clans that are with you, who have been born in your land and who may be your property. You may bequeath them to your sons after you inherit it as a possession forever. You may make slaves of them, but your brothers of the people of Israel you shall not rule over one another ruthlessly.
So owning people is fine, apparently.
Yeah.
Again. And you can't, the people of Israel, you can't touch them.
No.
They can't be your slaves, but anybody else can. And you may buy a slave and then pass them on to your offspring. Oh, it's so disgusting.
It's type of, we criticize white nationalists for thinking that they are the chosen people and that they have a divine bloodline, but a lot of Jewish law smacks of this sort of racism. This idea that Jews are separate from normal people. This is such a dangerous idea.
Yeah.
And this idea that they can possess other human beings like their cattle or like like a bottle of water or anything. When you see it in Islam, when they treat women like possessions, it's easy for them to throw acid on their face or burn them or something because I'm just ruining my possession.
Right.
This is another law or principle that leads to murder and to genocide. And that's a big sticking point in America too, right? Like they're very proud of the fact that they banned slavery eventually, but they also want to promote Christianity and Christianity openly advocates slavery.
Yeah, and by the way, in America, slavery was banned actually very late compared to other countries. I saw like in Poland, it was like the 15th century or something.
Yes.
So many countries were way ahead of us. Way ahead of us.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, sure. They didn't have African slaves, I guess. They had Polish. Poland had Polish slaves. But it doesn't matter. The point is that they were slaves. And, some people say, well, slavery still exists today. Well, in America, I mean, because people work some really bad jobs. They don't make enough money. That's still not quite the same because slave literally makes no money. It's basically an intern.
Yep.
Interns make no money.
They have an intern system in America.
Sure they do. And they get no money, and they work much longer than the regular workers. In Japan too, by the way.
Yeah, in Japan too. I see that a lot of foreigners come here and work intern for free, and it's a system you can easily exploit.
Exactly. This still goes on about buying people as property. If a stranger or sojourner with you becomes rich and your brother beside him becomes poor and sells himself to the stranger or sojourner with you to a member of the stranger's clan, then after he is sold, he may be redeemed. One of his brothers may redeem him, or his uncle or his cousin may redeem him, or a close relative. Okay, so we're still talking about treating a human being as just an object, like you said, yeah.
And redeeming him means to set the slave free.
Set him free, yeah.
So, this might be an example of where a Christian might sort of say, "There's so much compassion in the Bible. Look, you can set your slaves free if you like." Wow, that's a great book you've got.
Yeah. It even goes into details how you should do that. So he shall calculate with his buyer from the year when he sold himself to him until the year of the Jubilee, and the price of his sale shall vary with the number of years. The time he was with his owner shall be rated as the time of a hired worker. Okay, great. So this literally gives you all the steps you need to calculate exactly how much you're worth.
Yeah. The reason why we don't follow dogma anymore is that human beings have to have the flexibility to evolve their morality and their culture. If we stick to these medieval principles, they may have had a reason at the time of writing for these rules, but we can't be tethered to such archaic situations that just have no bearing on our contemporary society.
Right. Where is Facebook in the Bible? Where's the internet in the Bible? God wasn't there to invent it, apparently. So, I mean, how do you fit what everything? I don't know. I mean, look, those people believe anything, right? But maybe, just maybe, Christian God Yahweh, maybe he hates people with cell phones. Maybe for him that's a sin. How would you know?
You wouldn't know.
Because it's not written in here, right? We're gonna talk about a video. Okay, I'm not gonna debunk every single point because that would just take the whole day.
Yep.
I'm gonna make some very general comments, and then of course you feel free to chime in on anything.
A lot of these atheists who, what I believe is just an actual cult, okay? A lot of these atheists don't believe that we possess a soul. They believe that we were just made by some sort of beautiful accident, as they like to put it.
When I hear a word accident, in my mind it's something very chaotic, has no order. I mean, I imagine a car crash pretty much. Just the car gets completely destroyed in all directions. That's an accident. I don't think the universe, and we look at the planets, okay, sure, right now we only know of life on Earth, but you know, we look on Mars and we look on Venus and we know they're round and they're not flat. Mars had oceans at some point, Venus had oceans at some point, so we know there was something going on there. It does not look like an accident, and that's not what the Big Bang that's not what the Big Bang Theory ever stipulated. We have this expansion of the universe. It's an accident. They never said that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of chaos in the universe, but there are rules in the universe as well, laws of gravity and whatnot. Gravity can explain a lot of things, especially in terms of like the formations of the planets or the formations of the solar systems. And this incredible long period of time, you would expect something to settle into a kind of a system. You would expect these ecosystems to evolve. It's just a complete misunderstanding of basic science.
And also like the people who say, but now, are they talking about our solar system only? They say, now it's orderly. Well, is it? I mean, talk to Jupiter. I think Jupiter gets a lot of asteroid impacts, right? So would you call it orderly? I wouldn't. I mean, a giant asteroid passes by Earth every now and then. It could hit us anytime, and then we're looking at another mass extinction. Although I think we'll get there
before then. We'll fast tracked ourselves to the end. But you're totally right. I think even just like a few days ago, an asteroid buzzed past us. I mean, it's completely random, and solar winds buffeting out of the sun could knock us out. I mean, we have random earthquakes, tsunamis. I mean, the list goes on. The weather patterns that are happening now, it's an ecosystem, but an ecosystem that we're changing, and we don't know the results. It's completely random.
It's an experiment, and we're the guinea pigs. but we know what's going to happen. That's the thing. I mean, with climate change, for example, we know that the water is going to rise. We know that the people living right on the coasts, they have to move. I mean, this is the reality. So
this guy, when you first showed me this video, I had to laugh. He really is like a knockoff of the other famous Christian YouTuber, Josh Fergstein or whatever his name is, with the hat and the glasses, all of the paraphernalia,
right?
And the cell phone. He's really trying to ape that guy and the really strong attitude. But in the same way that Josh Fergstein, I can't remember his name, but you know the guy I'm talking about with the red hat. The same way he misrepresents atheism and basic scientific knowledge. It's exactly the same way. Like it's all gusto. Because he's getting a few thousand views every video, but it's probably half, like obnoxious Christians and outraged atheists, probably both watching his videos.
And we just exist here, and once we die, there's nothing else. There's no greater purpose. Okay, now I find that really hard to believe, considering our soul is what animates us.
No, that's the brain.
Our soul is what gives us our consciousness.
No, that's the brain again.
The soul gives you consciousness? Like it's a gift?
Our soul is what gives us our personality.
No, that's the brain again.
Yeah.
So he's talking about the soul, and of course, Christians obviously believe in the soul and that it's real. But again, please prove it.
I've asked in the past, like, can you define what a soul is? Because I really don't understand what it is. Like, often, if you don't believe in God, your soul's going to hell.
Yeah.
So it's like some ill-defined aspect of your person will be teleported to a different dimension for punishment. And it's like, so my soul can be hurt? It can feel pain? So it has a central nervous system? Does it have a memory?
Look, I mean, Christians, the way that they picture it is like in the movie Ghost, I think, with Patrick Swayze and what's her name?
Whoopi Goldberg.
That's right. When he dies, his ghost kind of comes out of his body, and I see my dead body, so I'm a ghost. I think this is literally what they imagine. I think this ghost, and then you're judged. So you go to the pearly gates of heaven first, but that's where you're judged. And so if you're bad, then you go to hell. If you're good, then you go into heaven. By the way, heaven has a wall, a giant wall, and it's extreme vetting to get in. So there you go, Christians.
It's all about not being able to let go of people when they die and wanting to be justified after death. It has a psychological function. But like how this relates to reality, like I often ask people, where is God? Or what is the temperature of God? Or what is the velocity of God?
Right.
Or like, where is this hell supposed to be? Or where is this heaven supposed to be? Is it an alternative dimension? Like, I have so many unanswered questions, and I think that these people just, living on cruise control. Their brains are on cruise control. They're not really engaging with just reasonable questions.
Yeah.
You know what else doesn't have a soul? A garbage pail doesn't have a soul. You know what I'm saying? So a garbage pail really is just existing, just like us. So for you nitwit imbecile atheists, and yes, I'm getting disrespectful, because you know why? You fucking mutts get disrespectful with me all the fucking time on my Twitter, okay? I'm gonna go confront a garbage pail right now and talk to it. Because you know what? It's here, it exists just like us, and it doesn't have a soul just like us. Yo, my man, you got that $5 you owe me? Yo, where's my fucking money that I lent you last week? Where is it, you fucking mutt? Where is it, you piece of shit?
Okay, my first question here is, why did he lend $5 to a garbage pail?
I'm pretty sure like he was like throwing out a bunch of papers in his wallet and he accidentally threw out $5, and now he's arguing with his own rubbish bin to give it back.
Right. If you want to get money back from a garbage bin, just fucking open it and take it. There's a natural explanation, but yeah, everything just exists. And that's the point I made in my documentary for the people who watched it. I said that religious people try to give a reason to things that may well have none at all. So they want an explanation for everything. Look, I mean, the origin of the universe, for example, that's an interesting topic, right?
Yes.
But seriously, does it keep you up at night every day? Do you really think about it? I mean, does it control your life?
No.
No. So they try to make a big deal about it, you know, oh, but God created, because it's so important to you just to have this piece of information just fit into that slot. Does it really change anything?
And
no.
It's an unnecessary fight. This war against science is a war you're going to lose, and a war you don't need to fight.
Yeah.
The Catholic Church has admitted that evolution is real and science is true, and climate change is right, and they've just moved on.
Yeah.
This is a pointless fight, and the one that they will definitely lose.
Yep.
The thing is that Christians had their time in the sun. They had their control over society in the world, and you know, Christians or the Bible didn't put people on the moon, and the Bible didn't solve polio or smallpox, or discover electricity. It's that scientific curiosity and being able to prove things that have advanced society and has done real good, like has literally saved millions of lives.
You see how stupid that logic and reasoning is, that we don't have a soul? You know, and just for all these smug atheist pricks, they're gonna be like, oh, that's not a living thing, that don't count. Then let's go confront a living thing. Ants right here, these ants, according to atheists, have the same relevance as a human being. They just exist, they live here. So the life of an ant is equivalent to the life of a human being. Now, since all these atheists says that we're just nothing but creatures and animals, we're all pretty much the same, all living on this world, you know, there's nothing special about us, there's no purpose in this afterlife, which means we're all equal. We're equal to a maggot, we're equal to a slug, we're equal to a fucking fly.
He's bringing up some examples of, insects, I suppose, right? So maggots, flies. Well, the thing is, like, okay, these are pests. These are parasites, and these are bad. But he also says, oh, okay, so humans, so we're not special. Yeah, actually, we're not special. I mean, why? What's so special about us? So we evolved. It just happened that way, that we evolved to be thinking creatures. We have 5, fingers that can articulate. That's big advantage, actually, because cats can't, dogs can't do that. They can't hold objects. So, okay, that's not their point, though. But I mean, it does help when you can grab something. Monkeys can, of course. You can walk upright. That's also an advantage for us. All of those tiny little things, thanks to evolution, of course. But that doesn't make us special. I mean, special to who? Who is judging us?
Yeah.
Who decides we are special or not?
I guess from our perspective, because we're human, we would think we are special just because it's us. You know?
Right. People think that, you know, they're special and they're superior. This kind of thinking is very poisonous for the planet.
Yes.
It's basically what you were saying before about, you know, the Jews think that they are the chosen ones, and so they can look down on everybody. The same applies to Team Human, because if you think that you're special and you're the chosen one, you're going to look down on every other creature in the world, and unfortunately, that's what happens these days.
Yes.
How many species have we just exterminated completely?
And some Christians explicitly say this. They say that the earth is for us to reap.
Right.
When they're talking about drilling for oil or anything, God gave us this earth, so we are allowed to just take whatever we want, and we don't have to care about the ecosystem or the balance because, well, the rapture is coming. So
yeah, there is another aspect of it where they say, oh, but okay, God gave us the earth, and we should be the keepers of it. Yeah. Well, why don't you act like them then?
So, a quick message to all you atheists. Next time you have a cockroach in your house, or you have a mouse in your house, don't be spraying no fucking Raid on that roach. Don't be setting up no mice trap to catch that mouse, okay? Because it's a living thing just like you. You are equal to it. Why stop there? Why stop there? Killing the roach and killing the mouse. Why stop there? If there's no purpose and there's nothing to achieve in this life going into the next, why stop there killing the roach or the mouse? Why not kill a human being?
This idea of the afterlife, this is not unique to Christianity. This comes back in many religions. But well, first of all, again, it's fake. It has never been demonstrated. And so basically all those people, they live in this kind of weird bubble that they think, oh, well, I don't really have to care about this life now because after I die, I'm going to live forever. Yeah. And he says, oh, atheists have no purpose. No, we have purpose. We have a lot of purpose. And you know what? Because we know our time here is limited, we are forced to kind of fast track certain things and to show affection to people and to care for people. Or to be an activist, fighting for the right causes.
Yeah, he's saying his logic here is because he has a soul, it's okay for him to kill the cockroach and the mouse. And then there's the next step. Then I would have thought is that it's okay then to kill an unbeliever. You see, once you make like you said before, once you start making those separations within human beings, is it okay to kill an atheist from a Christian perspective? I mean, I would say...
Well, it used to be.
Yeah, it used to be. It used to be very fashionable to do so. But those days come again. I mean, I guess Islam ISIS would kill atheists, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The secularization or the atheist movement, the Enlightenment movement, has civilized this world. And moved us away from this kind of thinking
from the Dark Ages.
From the Dark Ages, and this strange fellow wants us to go back to
those times.
Medieval times.
Yeah.
Why stop there? I'll tell you why you stop there. 'Cause you imbeciles, you jerk jobs, you heathens, you peasants, you guys take your moral code and laws from the Holy Bible. Yes, you do. You get your moral code and your laws from God.
It's this particular charge you hear a lot, and I think that it's actually kind of a racist charge. I'm from Australia, so we have an indigenous population there, and the idea that all of human morality comes from the Bible is to suggest that before white Christian settlement, the native inhabitants had no ethics or no morality. And then the white Christians invaded, slaughtered everyone, enslaved them, and gave them morality.
Right.
I mean, this is about cultural superiority, and there are other religions, there are other moral codes and ethics, and they're very similar. Like, without ethics, there is no society. If we're not working together, we're killing each other and stealing from each other, which means that there's no society, no technology, no advance, no language, no book, no Bible.
Right.
This is such a ridiculous claim, but if morality came from the Bible, you would expect religious societies, religious countries or Christian countries to have lower crime rates than secular countries, and it's the completely the opposite.
Yeah.
The more secular your country is, the more safer and the less crime there is.
And it's funny, you atheists really contribute zilch to society other than trying to disprove that there is God.
First of all, you can't disprove something that was never proven to exist in the first place. It's like trying to disprove Santa Claus. How do you start doing that? I mean, so that's one. Second of all, he says, atheists contribute nothing to society. The phrasing of that is wrong because how do you know? How do you even make a statistic of that? Because back, you go back a few centuries ago, Christianity, among the Western world, was the main religion. A lot of scientists were part of the club, but it doesn't mean that they subscribed to every single thing in it. So they had to say, sure, I'm Christian, Newton, Christian. It doesn't mean, though, that they actually followed that and they were really kind of devout Christians, something like that. So you cannot make a statistic about it. It's impossible. But for example, Ben Franklin, who did research on electricity, weather patterns, I'm pretty sure he was, most of the founding fathers were deists anyway. So that's really far away from Christianity. If you use Facebook, well, Zuckerberg is an atheist. You use Windows, well, Bill Gates is an atheist. So this guy, even though he's making his video on a cheap cell phone, I'm pretty sure he's using some kind of computer to upload it. Well, the idiot doesn't realize that what he's using was created by an atheist. One thing we didn't invent for sure are things like the Iron Lady, the rack, and the burning at the stake. That's all for Christians. And I found a small list also of just people who were, atheists or at least agnostic, who contribute to society. Of course, Freud, who pretty much is really the father of psychology. I mean, he's the go-to guy. Lawrence Krauss, of course, who is still alive. He's working on dark matter, among other things. Richard Dawkins, genetic research and how it relates to evolution. Michio Kaku, who's Japanese, of course. He's working on string field theory. So actually, this is a funny part because he says, well, no atheists are like scientists, contribute nothing. I'm sure he doesn't know Chinese scientists, Japanese scientists, Korean scientists. He doesn't know any of them.
The world in general has becoming more and more secular, and we're now living in one of the most peaceful eras in human history.
That's true.
And the most scientifically advanced period in human history. And that's all due to secularism and the advances of secularism. Yeah,
that's a very good point you make, actually. I have a friend recently, and some people commented on his post, and there was this one woman in particular, and she's like, "Oh my God, we live in such scary times, and it's such very horrible times." Really? I mean, really? You're really saying that? Try go back a few centuries ago, where a woman was nothing. She was just a property, literally a property, even though she was not a slave. But she was a property of the man. So she had probably no education, just stay-at-home mom, pretty much. And, of course, religious wars for decades. You never know when a religious fanatic from the next village is going to invade your village of religious fanatics, who believe in slightly different nonsense. You never know when it's going to happen. Now, I mean, seriously, the chance of being killed by a terrorist in Japan or America, it's like one in, who knows?
Yeah, you're more likely to be killed by a cupboard falling on top of you, or being struck by lightning,
or being shot by a cop in the States.
Yeah, well, that's far more likely. Yeah,
a car accident, of course. There are things that can really get you.
Do you have any leaders?
Why? Why do you need to follow another person? Why?
And we're free to disagree with Dawkins, for example.
Oh, yes.
You might agree with some things he says, you might not agree with other things he says, and you're not going to get excommunicated or stoned to death. I mean, we have no leaders, we have no book.
Right.
But for some reason we're a cult. Somehow we're a cult. I don't really know. What is the difference between a cult and a religion?
Religion is bigger.
Religion is bigger, right? That's the only difference.
Guys have nothing. All you do is you're a bunch of smug, snobby, know-it-all jerk-offs.
Well, actually, this is so funny that he says that, because no, we don't know it all, and we admit that. We are humble. The people who are jerk-offs and things like that he says, is actually people like this dipshit, who think that they have the answers to everything in the universe because the Bible says so.
Yeah, the idea that you have a personal relationship with the creator of the universe is insanely arrogant.
I suggest you get closer to God. I suggest that you wake up, okay, and see shit for what it is, man. There is a creator. There is a God.
Okay, prove that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can also say whatever you want. I can say, well, Superman is real. Oh, we don't know that because he lives on planet Krypton. Well, we don't know where that is, but he's real. Just trust me. I say so.
Another example is the Raelians. They believed in the UFOs, and they all ended up committing suicide, drinking poison so their souls would jump onto the mothership. Believing things that are based in reality is important, and ignoring reality just to believe in superstition or belief, especially superstition, is really, really terrible. Like the whole hysteria about witches and killing witches, it's just based on nonsense.
Right.
If you don't have empirical evidence
or
and truth,
cats.
or black cats, or like it happens even now in Africa, where they'll kill albino people and use them in ceremonies and stuff like that, without logic and reason, you're just going to go off the rails. A belief that's not grounded in facts and reality is incredibly dangerous.
This is just me kind of thinking out loud, but I think most of the atheist thinking is built on empathy. Don't cause pain. Pain is bad. So I don't like when people, hurt me physically. So I don't want to do that to others. And that's basically, I think, what all atheists agree on.
Yeah, the golden rule, right? Where you find this similar idea within different moral codes and other religions. Do unto others as you would have done unto you, sort of thing. It's just common sense. It's not divine wisdom. You would come to that position naturally.
Divine wisdom is apparently killing a bunch of people.
Yeah, that's true.
Quote scripture right here, 2 Corinthians 4:4. Satan, who is the god of this world, has blinded the minds of those who don't believe. They are unable to see the glorious light of the good news. They don't understand the message about the glory of Christ, who is the exact likeness of God.
This is the ultimate peak of bullshit when people say, or they quote something from the Bible and it's true because the Bible says so.
Yeah.
Well, that's usually when I kind of switch off talking to people. If they ever bring that, I'm like, okay, there's no point. I mean, why? Just wasting time.
And this guy, he's really struggling. I have a feeling he's never really read the Bible, but he's just like maybe done a Google search for a particular passage that will support his claim, and that's
circular reasoning, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, on my page, Age of Reason, I occasionally bump into people like that who believe in nonsense, and I get into conversation, but I notice very quickly it goes nowhere. So usually I end up banning them because it's just they say something outrageous or really offensive. So I don't take too well to that. But do you ever confront, let's say, religious people?
I was saying before, perhaps I'm having a dialogue with a Christian fundamentalist at the moment, and
how is that going?
It's like bashing your head against a brick wall. Like you say one point, and then he'll send you texts and like you should read this book and go through this Ken Ham website, it's like 9 pages long. So he's just trying to overwhelm me with spurious facts. But I think the online conversations and talking to people online, it's a nice idea, but it ends up to being toxic a lot of the time. I imagine you deal with a lot of trolls, online trolls and stuff like that. Some communication is not valuable. The communication I'm having at the moment with my friend Roger, I do find it really valuable, and he is at least kind of respectful, and he tries to explain himself in intelligent ways, at least, even though he's a young Earth creationist, and his ideas are off the wall.
Right. On the internet, it seems that it's just a kind of free for all. So anybody can spout any nonsense and just get away with it. So
after the election, I think that companies like Google and Facebook are trying to crack down on fake news websites to defund them and things like that. But like you say, you can find a justification for any position you want, whether it's like believing in aliens or reptiles rule the world, or I found a website where a guy didn't believe that nuclear explosions were real, and that Nagasaki and Hiroshima were faked, and things like that. You can find a website that will justify any position you want to have, and some conversations aren't worth having.
Yeah. I always tell people, just keep talking. I'm diagnosing. All right. Well, that's it for today. I think we talked enough.
Yes.
The next show will be in March sometime. Do you have any final points, any comments?
No, thanks for having me. It was
Thanks
fun.
for coming.
I always enjoy having these kind of conversations, and it was a good opportunity to come. It was nice.
All right. Well, feel free to come by again anytime in the future
great.
again. We'll see you in March.